I'm ready.
Hello there.
Hi, guys.
Wow.
It's Shit Talk Reviews.
I feel like you're mocking me, you bastard. It is, though.
Why didn't you let him take us?
No, John's the Howard Stern of
No,
the show.
take it.
No way.
Start us
I
off.
Start
would
us
never
off.
fill those shoes.
You could. I have complete
I
faith.
refuse to do that.
You refuse? Come on.
I will
One
not.
time.
No.
Just once.
I will not.
Just,
I'm not doing it.
Just
John.
give us a, hey everybody, it's Shit Talk Reviews.
Hey, everybody, it's Shit Talk Reviews.
Well done. I'm John. That was David, of course. Derek's in the house. Happy Friday, guys.
Thank you, John.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Weekend time.
It is.
You know what? When you get old, all you think about on Friday is sleep.
All I think about is sleep every other day of the week,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You get to be north of 50, and which you're etching up on pretty quickly.
Next year, I'm looking forward to like one big party when I turn 50, and then my kidneys will fail, and that'll be the end of it.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
John, we learned something today.
What's that?
That Derek has no appreciation for good music. I'm going to tell you why. We have another Mark Jr. here. If you ever hear Mark talk about the places he goes to eat, they're the best, and anywhere you go outside of what he tells you sucks.
Okay.
So we came in this morning. I told you to play Bonamasso, right? Right away, he gets angry. He says the music sucks. It's not for him. And he storms out of here like a child because he doesn't want to hear it. So God forbid we listen to something that we enjoy because it's not knuckle-dragging music, then to him, we all suck. So we have another Mark Jr. We have one for food. We have the food one, and now we have the
I feel ganged up on, and I would like you to
So
shut
I just
your
thought
pie
I
hole.
would say that.
Shut your pie hole.
I don't think anybody here should feel ganged up on. This is a loving.
Oh, I don't care. He can gang up
Safe
on me. I just
environment.
think he should shut his face.
I think it's just funny that it's his way or no way.
That's right.
We're in the trust tree. It's okay to be upset with one another,
Okay.
even
fair.
if you're wrong. So let's get into it. We're talking Filter's new album, The Algorithm, and Filter fans.
John, I am a huge Filter fan.
Derek,
Love him.
So can I tell a story?
please.
College, Jason Bonig. I will send this to you, Jason Bonig. I sat in the back of his Ford F-150. He had a really nice Ford F-150 when we were in college. And Filter was all we listened to, or a lot. And he loved it. And we went back and forth to New Jersey from Vermont listening to Filter. So whenever I hear Filter, I think of Jason Bonig, and I will send this to you. And listening to way too much of Mr. Richard Michael Patrick. So anyways, it was interesting. I felt a time warp. I felt young again.
Yeah.
I felt vibrant. I was drinking Ice House again. I mean, it was, that's instant
Nobody wants to get
hangover.
taken back
John,
to a time
I
when they were
remember-
drinking Ice House.
Just being a hockey player going through the youth hockey, every time there was a goal.
Alleged hockey player.
Alleged hockey player. Every time there was a goal, it was, hey man, nice shot.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
over the stereos, all over the speakers.
Which is
Yeah.
interesting. Only, and maybe it wasn't big news as big news then as it appears to be now.
Yeah, it's still a great song.
Well, the impetus for those lyrics, it was reportedly, and again,
Yes.
never talked to Richard
Please
Patrick.
share.
I don't know that the notion behind that song was taken from a politician named I think it was Bud Dwyer, who was accused of and subsequently convicted of bribery,
Yes.
and then killed himself on live TV at a press conference the day before his sentencing.
Yes, correct.
So there was some not great attachment to that song, which is too bad because it's a great song.
It's a great song.
Lyrical inspiration notwithstanding, it's a great song.
and
then-
take a picture with the
Yeah.
just like, to this day, if it's on, it's going up on the stereo, and I'm listening to it.
But
Great
there
song.
again, that song apparently came from him getting
Do you want to know why he likes it?
getting hammered on a flight
Yeah,
and
getting
stripping down to
stripping
his
down.
boxers and
That's
telling
right.
people to take a picture of it.
He can relate. You know, that song is from the Short Bus. And
Listen, just a fabulous album all around.
We're talking the new one, The
The
Algorithm?
new one, just fabulous. And I'll let you run.
Well,
with this,
yeah,
but I can't wait to talk about it.
We'll get
Yeah.
into it, but my question is, where would you, just right off the top of your head, where would you rank this record with all the other ones?
Oh, I
with
would
Short Bus, title of
I would
record,
rank-
record of title
I
of
would
record.
rank it right alongside some of these.
Yeah?
It's one of my favorite Filter albums.
Saying something.
No doubt. This
Yeah.
was a great album. And I have a lot to say about it. So
Well, say something. What do you got?
Well, I was just going to say, he's a tremendous talent. I mean, there's no doubt that this guy's a talent. We brought it up before. I'll bring it up to Derek. Maybe it's too soon, but it's kind of like a Mammoth thing. The guy could single-handedly play every instrument. I think he does all the instruments, maybe other than the drums, if I'm right.
I know he's had so many people come and go through this band.
From the
And, this is another
beginning,
band that's had a revolving door.
Yeah.
But they've been around since 95.
Yeah.
No, earlier than that, maybe? 93.
No, yeah,
93.
He was with 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah,
right?
he was playing guitar with Trent
Downward
Reznor.
Spiral. He was on that.
Yeah.
Which,
But I mean,
I'm sure
like,
he's
Amazing
making
record.
money on it still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a lot of
very
people.
similar album to Mammoth, I think. It's very, very similar. It's got tons of radio play. It's got heaviness to it. You know, I brought it up to you before. You know, you're on an island. Who you taking, Mammoth or Filter? Probably Filter because of their longevity, but they're very similar to each other when it comes to this last album. You agree?
I will say right up front, I think this album has a pretty serious identity crisis.
Okay.
I think it's, like you said, on one hand, it's heavy and it's gritty and ugly. There's tracks that really scratch the itch for me. And then there's some that aren't bad songs, but they don't feel like they fit the flow of the record. In fact, I don't remember one of the other albums that we talked about in past reviews. I love the front half of the record. Don't love the back half of the record quite so much.
I liked pretty much all of it. Mm-hmm. For me, tons of songs on here that could be radio play, but 2 or 3 songs specifically, I could just totally picture in a soundtrack to a movie.
Like what?
Some soundtrack song. So, Be Careful What You Wish For. Mm-hmm. I thought Burn Out the Sun, and even Command Z could have been. Those 3 songs could be huge play on a soundtrack. No doubt.
Yeah, Burn Out the Sun and Command Z, the last 2 songs on the record.
Not your style.
Well, not my preferred stuff. I wouldn't go to it first. You know, like Burn Out the Sun Burn Out the Sun. It's a sweet song.
Yeah.
But it's another one that, to my ears, just didn't really fit the rest of the record.
But on a soundtrack to a cool movie, it would work.
Yeah.
You know.
And I was going to say, there's some summery songs on here, but there is one, Summer Child. Again, it's another one that's like kind of a stylistic departure against the rest of the record.
To me, that's Filter, though. This type of album is Filter. This is what he does. He has heaviness mixed in with soft stuff. He has radio play. He's got a lot going on. I like it.
I think there are more departures on this record than on prior Filter albums.
Okay.
That's one dude's opinion, though.
Yeah.
You've been very quiet so far.
So I thought that personally this felt like his voice is shot, and it was hard to listen to for me. Look, the structure of some of the songs, Obliteration was a classic Filter song. I mean, it has an earworm chorus.
That's the same thing, yeah.
I loved the song for it being Filter, but his voice is really hurting. And I mentioned it to you earlier. You know, there were years ago, Joe Elliott from Def Leppard couldn't sing anymore. It's done. He's done. And they have backing vocals for all the choruses when they play live. You know, my friend Brad took me to a Def Leppard show. I walked out. It was just not good.
And they're like your favorite band.
Well, yeah, according to Dave, they're my favorite band of all time.
One of the best hardcore metal bands of all time.
Not hardcore metal.
Photograph.
But would you shut up? Now it's my time to talk. You zip it. Keep your pie hole shut.
At least he started it.
So, you know, look, people age, and sometimes your voice changes, and I felt like there was a lot of weird falsetto in this that was covering up for the fact that his voice is gone, and it just was it was painful to listen to. I thought that there was identity crises in here as well, like for the Beaten. There's weird lasers, and then all of a sudden, there's this really cool chorus that's kind of dreary, but catchy, and then weird lasers come back again, and I'm like, what am I listening to here? What's going on? And then he can't sing. He sounds like he sounds shot.
Yeah.
And so it was a struggle. It for me, it felt like this is for the fans of Filter. And if you're a huge fan of Filter, you're a huge fan of any band, you're going to love them until they stop making music.
Sure. That's fair.
For me, that hasn't paid attention to Filter. Like, I never would have paid attention to this album if I wasn't reviewing it with you guys. It was painful to listen to.
I picked up on that really early, too, is Richard's use of a heavy vibrato. And whether it's making up for the fact that he doesn't have the power that he had, which, certainly could be the case. We all get a little older and lose some of the juice. But I've not ever been a fan of that big, heavy, real deep vibrato. So it wasn't jarring, but it was like, it's not quite the Richard Patrick of old.
I didn't feel that. I didn't really feel that with his vocals. I never really thought about it till you guys honestly just said it.
I'd be curious.
So when I go back, I'll focus on
be curious to see what if you pick up on it and have an opinion about it after you re-listen to it.
Yeah.
Joe Nally brought it up on our interview, Joe Nally from Earn, and he said,
"Hey Joe."
Hey Joe. He said something about sounding like Max Cavalera then versus Max Cavalera now.
He said what I know is that there was his prior album, Spirit and Serpent.
Yeah.
Where he sounded like Max Cavalera does now.
Yeah, correct. And Max has had to change his vocalization with age.
Sure.
James Hetfield, we talked about it on the Metallica song. He's actually singing better now. He's gone to a vocal coach. It's obvious. And you have to change with age. Your voice does change. And I think here, Richard is probably in a spot where he needs to make a transition, because singing the way or at the octaves that he was before, he can't do it. And it hurts. It hurts to listen to. And again, I don't care. And for fans of Filter, they're going to love it. I mean, Dave liked Filter. He's going to like Filter till the day they die, or they quit. And that's fine. For me, somebody that hasn't listened to it in a while, it was immediate for me. I'm like, oh my God, this is not the same Filter. Structurally, yes. There's some songs in there that are just the classic formula for Filter, and know it's a Filter song.
Yeah.
And that to me makes a really good brand or a really good band. Is when you hear it and it's them, that means that they've established themselves. It's them. And so I knew it was him. It just was a older sounding, kind of tired version of it.
He's so talented though, isn't he?
No doubt.
He's got so much talent.
No doubt.
He's such a talented guy. He writes, records, collaborates. He does scores for movies. The guy has got just so much talent.
And he has throughout his career, Trent Reznor doesn't hook up with lackeys.
No.
If you're doing stuff with Trent, you're doing something right.
Fair point.
But Derek, you mentioned the being established and having a certain style. There again, it brings up the question: are bands allowed to evolve and change as with each subsequent release? And I think the answer is absolutely, and absolutely not, because some people are always going to say it's not the same band unless they're releasing the same style and the same flavor that they normally did.
I don't even know if it's a matter of them changing their style more than it is what they're going through at that particular time, right? I mean, we know he's had issues in his past, sobriety, and so maybe he was just going through a time where he's just decided right now, this is what I want. Whether it sounds good to him, maybe, and that's what's most important. Maybe a lot of these bands we do, when we're like, wow, where did this come from? Maybe it's about the now and not so much about the fans.
Yeah, I think if an artist is recording something that is honest to them, they're being true to themselves and what they're going through and what they're dealing with. I can't say that the end product will be better, but at least it's more honest.
I mean, Derek says it 1,000 times. The band's got to stay in their lane and try to just stay on course. But from Filter, it didn't seem like he went off course that much for me, anyway.
Not that much.
Yeah.
No, there again, I don't think any of the songs on this record are bad.
I don't either.
Some just kind of deviated away from others, and for me, the end result is that it doesn't feel like a very consistent record.
Okay.
I bring up Tom Araya from Slayer a lot because Slayer was Slayer from...
Yeah.
They never changed.
They never changed.
Yeah.
And when Tom couldn't sing and yell War Ensemble anymore, or he saw the end coming for him, because every time they played War Ensemble live, he would scream War Ensemble
Yeah.
as loud as he could. Well, I saw them every time they came through. I mean, I've seen Slayer 15 times maybe in my life, and the last couple times I saw him, it was becoming a struggle. And you could see him increasingly not able to. He did the show, but he was not singing.
Didn't have the power that he had before, sure.
And so that's why they're not around anymore. If you can't do it at the level, he just retired.
Would rather not do it at all.
That was it. And, now Kerry King is out doing his own thing. There's going to be an announcement about a new band that Kerry's got. I know he's brought Paul Bostaph in from Slayer as well, and so there'll be a incarnation of it. But he quit when he knew he couldn't do it anymore, and it's hard to do. It's really hard to do.
Not only is it hard to do, though, Derek, it's hard for the fans to listen to it. It's hard for us to listen to it. I remember seeing Van Halen when they got back with Roth. I've said this 1,000 times. Holy shit, the band was tight as hell. They opened up with their first song. As soon as Roth opened up his mouth, you felt embarrassed for him. You almost couldn't even focus on what was going on because he was so bad.
Was that a money grab? Just sorry, not to change topic, but you figured that was a money grab?
They had a new album out at the time, Different Kind of Truth. So they were touring that album.
Was Roth on that album?
He was on it, yeah. To Derek's point, though, man, there's nothing worse than just being a fan of a band and then, oh my God,
being
The
disappointed.
singer just struggles. It's bad all around.
And that's why I go back to Hetfield. I respect. I was blown away, and I've said this on this podcast before. Last summer, when I went to Boston Calling and Metallica headlined,
you said he was unreal.
70,000 people. He sounded better then than when I had seen him on the Hardwired to Self-Destruct tour. At Patriot Place, I was like, "This is not the same guy. He has absolutely gone to school, and he's worked on his craft,
He's up there.
and he is, and he sounded better, and he's sounding great now. And so look, life is work, right? Relationships are work. This is work for us. We do it for free." But it is work. It is. I get up every day, and the first thing I think of is my family. The second thing I think of is my job, and the third thing I think of now is this, along with my dog.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do.
And the suffering that we go through for
Dave's glory,
for maybe 3 people,
Yeah.
in Dave's glory.
Yeah, Dave says he has all the fans, and
Well, your sister too, Kate. She,
She's one of the 3.
She's one of the 3.
My other sister's another one of the 3.
Well, and now Fat
And your
Beard.
mom.
And my mom.
For the 20 seconds. For the 20
For the 20 seconds she'll listen.
And Fat Beard now loves us.
Fat Beard. And then James. So we're up to
And
5,
James,
guys.
true.
Hey, you know what?
God
Let's
bless
take a minute and congratulate each
How
other
about
on
that, huh?
on our success.
There it is.
Well done,
Flex, Derek.
guys.
There you go. Show the biceps.
Yeah. So, anyways, Richard. Listen, A for effort, writing, songwriting.
Still love your work, buddy.
Yeah.
He's an amazing musician.
Yeah, and look, I'm happy Dave liked it. That's
Yeah.
good because he's going to hate next week's pick. So
Yeah, not to deviate from Richard and Filter and this conversation, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm so excited about some of the albums that are coming out.
Yeah, we got some good ones. I have a few that are really
Oh, man, there's some I have been waiting for
Nice.
a long time.
Good.
talk about it.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
release, Tesseract is releasing their album, I think, tomorrow or the day after.
Okay.
And that's I've been a huge Tesseract fan since 2013,
All right.
Altered States, and I am so excited to hear this. They haven't had an album out for a few years, so that we'll do a review on that one here in a few weeks.
It's not going to be easy for Album of the Year. This is going to be very, very tough.
Yeah.
Because we have some good ones.
We talked about this earlier. We've all
Yeah.
kind of started loose lists
I have.
for
Some,
contenders.
oh, yeah.
Man, it's going to be tough.
It is going to be tough. We've got some good ones.
I have mine picked out. It's going to have to take a massive album to come along and unseat the one I have chosen.
I think
You
I
like
know
the
the one
Venge
you've
that
got,
much?
but
What?
I said, you like the Venge that much?
Love the Venge. My God.
I got to tell you, I'm surprised we haven't heard from their management to ask
Yeah,
us to
somebody,
come
a family member.
open
someone-
up
a
for them
wife.
on tour.
Yeah.
We want you guys to just come on stage, have a conversation before every show, talk about this record.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be.
There is some good ones, though. It's going to be very, very tough. And we'll see what happens. So.
Well, so yeah, again, Richard, love your work. historically, and there's a lot I like on this record. Up Against the Wall, the second song, some fucking gnarly tones on that. Some great tones throughout this entire record. The production is great on it. Some great drum sounds.
I think Obliteration's the best song on the album. I mean, that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
By far, that was
I think
awesome.
I think you're probably right. I really like there was a killer thrash riff on "Say It Again."
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that riff.
Yeah.
The problem
The
is I didn't
beginning
like
is
a
great.
lot around it. It was kind
That
of
song had a lot of
Smoke
Alice in
was weak.
Chains tones to me.
That was another one. Say It Again. It starts. It sounds like a very not typical, but a very metal track, and then the chorus comes in and gets away from the metal.
Yeah. It had that. I went to that.
And then back to the metal again.
Yeah. I don't like to use the word dreary, but it had those tones of Alice in Chains, that depressed kind of sound. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So again, there is good stuff on the record. I just don't like the entire record.
Yeah.
Well, let's do standouts. For me, I liked For the Beaten. That was the first single that got released. I like the laser beams and the heavy, down-tuned. It's low and ugly and gritty. Then these big, epic, wide-open choruses come in, and then you get dumped back into the laser battle again.
I didn't mind that.
I do enjoy it, even though, again, it's an identity crisis within an identity crisis. And Up Against the Wall, again, great tones. I like the cool lyrical phrasing. Richard did some cool stuff with lyrical phrasing on this record, which I think is always a cool trick if it's done effectively, and definitely not of the same genre. But one of my favorite singers to do cool lyrical phrasing is Dave Matthews.
Okay.
Here's a guy that can take a 4/4 bar of music, 4 counts, and if he gave any singer one line to sing, it would probably fall within those 4 beats pretty similarly. Dave Matthews, though, would take those words and totally twist them backwards, and they would slide all around.
Right.
And I think it takes a lot of talent to do that successfully. And props to Richard. I think he did that here, specifically on Up Against the Wall and on some other songs too. So those are my 2 standouts: Up Against the Wall
Very
and
cool.
For the Beaten.
For me, I had Obliteration, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The chorus, the arrangement, it was a feel-good song. The vocals were good. I thought it was great. Be Careful What You Wish For was a little more mellow. I said it could have been on a soundtrack, but I liked it, and I had 2 more. The Drowning, and I thought Threshing, was it Threshing Floor?
Oh, Threshing Floor.
Loved it.
I like that.
Great song.
Like that too.
Yeah, great song.
Obliteration for me. I liked For the Beaten, some of the heavier parts, and Say It Again, the heavier parts. Face Down and Summer Child, they're sing-along songs. Those are radio releases.
They're cool, chill, sing-along songs.
For
sure.
And and along with the Drowning, they feel like Filter.
Yeah.
They feel like they took me back to Jason Bonig's Ford F-150, and
Jesus, what else? What was going on in that?
we just were in the car a lot. We were leaving Vermont to go to go down and hang out with Matt Pertnick, and I'll send this to you, Matt.
Was the truck moving at least?
Oh yeah,
okay, good.
Oh yeah, no, we were. Yeah, he flew, and actually we went through snowstorms in it. We went to Six Flags. We did all kinds of fun things in college.
It is fun when you think back to music will transport you back,
Filter.
and that obviously
I've
happened
said it
here.
1,000 times. Music is the soundtrack to your life.
Yeah.
You could pick a date and know exactly who was popular. Right, Derek? What you were doing at that
Mm-hmm.
time. It's an amazing thing, music.
I will tell you that I bought. There was somebody I was talking to the other day, and I posted this on Instagram and all the socials. We were talking about Slayer's Live Undead, and they had no idea that Slayer had a live album from the early '80s. And I'm like, yeah, check it out. And so it took me back, and I started thinking about it, and I knew exactly where I was when I got this thing back in 1985. I think I got it from the Dartmouth bookstore, where I got all of my music. And I went home, and I went into my room, and I had this big giant slant of a ceiling, because it's an old New England home, and I'd hit my head on it all the time because I was tall. And I remember walking in there, bumping my head, and dropping this cassette in and listening to it and going. And I won't say what Tom Araya says before Captor of Sin, but go listen to what he says and who it goes out to in the little who do whatever in the night. It's called Captor of Sin.
Is that the album you were talking about that was recorded and there was controversy as to whether or not the audience was like blah blah blah? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm trying to keep this as PG as possible because it's rotten what he says.
We're a family show, Derek.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, I was like, I'm sitting there like 10, 11, 12, and I'm listening to this demonic dude who can yell like a motherfucker, and he's sitting there talking about dirty stuff that I shouldn't be listening to, and then that was it. And Slayer was.
So that's when it all went bad for you.
Pretty much. And then I heard Howard Stern one time down in New York City, and oh my goodness, Howard Stern and Slayer was my demise. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose there's worse things. Maybe
The Drowning, that song, it had a heavy sound to it, dark tones to it, almost had a Nirvana feel to it for me. Good song, though.
My thought was the same as yours, Derek. It's like, as soon as it started playing, it's just good rockin' old school Filter.
Yeah.
He employed the same formula for that, and a few other songs on here.
I love him.
I thought Obliteration was that way. Yeah. Put the old school Filter formula in place, and bang.
Yeah. I love the music. I love the band. I always did. I always thought this guy was onto something.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's feel-good music. It's radio play music. I'm in the car, turn on Filter, let it roll on Spotify. Every song you got is probably a good one. So,
Should we put numbers?
Sure.
Anybody want to go first? I'll go first.
Go ahead.
A 7.5. 7.5. Yeah. And again, when we talked about this last week, when we put numbers on things, we're looking at it from two different places. An objective viewpoint and personal preference. And for me, on the personal preference side, I brought it down a little bit because I wanted more of the kind of Filter that I like and less of the summer song flavor. But on the other hand, objectively, the music is, it's good. Yeah. It just didn't have a great flow for me, and that's why 7.5.
I went songwriting an 8. I thought that the production was great. For me, the vocals were lacking, and so I bumped it down to a 7. It would have been a lot better record if, Richard was at his peak performance.
Was working with James Hetfield's vocal coach.
Maybe he needs to.
Yeah.
Interesting.
David?
I gave it an 8. It was a solid 8 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, I loved it. I thought it was an 8. And I thought it was a really good Filter album. I would put it up there with the other ones. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, you're up next.
Yes.
Papa D. What have we?
So, next week, this is what's going to be. Mom! Derek and John are playing heavy metal again! John's being mean! He's making us Derek's a jerk!
I can't wait to hear this.
Celestial Sanctuary. The album name is Insatiable Thirst for Torment. And if you're fans of Death and Napalm Death, then this is for you. This band is killer. And this album has taken them up another level. If you like death metal, you like thrash metal.
How long has Celestial Sanctuary been around?
Only a few years.
So they're a fresh band.
They're fresh, but this album has gone to another level, and I can't wait to talk about it because there's a lot to hear in here if you really pay attention. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting him to go, Mom, I'm not taking notes. I'm gonna go and pull my putt instead.
My guess is that if Dave feels the same way about this that he did about Humanity's Last Breath, that he will dig even deeper into the band to get that fundamental understanding.
Mom, get me some butt plugs so I can put them in my ear. I can't take it.
I can't wait to hear this.
Oh, it's so good. It'll be a good conversation. Hopefully, a very good conversation next week. You know what?
Mom, just kill me now.
Speaking of next week, looking at we all have people in the Northeast United States here, and by this time next week, there is supposed to be a really big fucking storm heading up towards the Northeast. So if you're in the North, if you look at the models for Hurricane Lee, it's a Category 4 now. They're talking about it spinning up to a 5. And right now it's tracking for Wonderful.
New England.
Yeah, the models have it. It's not tracking there
Yeah.
yet, but the models have it heading up towards New England.
As we learned last year with Ian, and for those who don't know, my house is still trashed, and that's a whole other story. But we're still fixing that. We sat there and lived and breathed on the models, going left, right, left, right. And when I left, I came down to Naples, and all of a sudden it turned and hit Naples and Fort Myers. And so
yeah,
you don't know until the last minute.
you don't. You don't. But if you are anywhere near where that path might be going, do yourself a favor and just get your shit together. Because you do not want to, not to say it's difficult to be caught off guard, but you don't want to be caught off guard because these storms get ugly. We live in Florida. We see them here on the
True.
regs. And man, they can ruin your fucking weekend.
Well,
So,
and here's the thing, and it's funny. I just had a conversation with somebody that said global warming was a hoax, and I said, okay. You look at the water temperatures that are out in the Atlantic, the middle of the Atlantic, they've never been this high. And there's a reason why there's a Category 5 that's spinning up and heading towards New England, which never happens.
Yeah.
So
there was like bathwater temperatures out in the Atlantic not that long ago.
Which is very,
and that's
very
scary shit
Yeah,
because
it's
it just
very
doesn't happen.
And you know what's funny is heavy metal is always aware of this stuff. I mean, I remember back when I was a kid, Testament was singing about this on Practice What You Preach. The Greenhouse Effect was the name of the song. Mm-hmm. Metal's been aware of this and talking about it for years. But do we do anything about it? Does our politicians? No. You know why? Because they don't make money changing the environment, helping the environment.
We're going to have to start a spin-off podcast to start touching on these issues.
Well, these are all things that heavy metal talks about, is the hypocrisy of, bullshit and politics and taking down the oppressor and all that shit. And that's why we all like metal. It's rebellious. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be dangerous. It's supposed to talk about the shit that nobody wants to talk about.
Fair?
Hey, John, how about this song, real quick before we wrap up, the song Command Z?
Yeah.
High as a motherfucker. High as fuck.
Go ahead, you brought that
You know
up.
what I mean?
On my first listen
Completely
of the album.
didn't expect that.
Yeah, I just, and I don't want to say, it was one of those moments where I go, what the hell is this, man?
Said the same thing.
And I'm down with honesty in lyrics. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys know me. Anybody who's listened to 5 minutes of us talking knows I'm not a lyrical content guy. I don't focus on it. But you couldn't avoid it on that song.
That just came out of left park.
And I just thought, okay.
Left field, sorry, left field.
At the ballpark?
That came out of left field, did it not? Like
No,
what the
it
hell is
did.
going
It
on?
did. And again, if you're writing honest music and honest lyrics, props to you.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
But
cool.
I just thought
I forgot to mention
it felt not weird, but a little weird. But hey, again, I props for the honesty.
Mom, John and Dave are high again.
Again?
Found the leafy green substance in your sock drawer, David. We're gonna have a talk about this with your father.
What's this gummy? Why is it shaped like a bear?
Oh shit.
shit.
Okay,
Good
I
stuff.
got nothing else. You guys got anything?
No, John.
Do we
Thank
need
you for
any
your
other
time.
political topics we need to
No,
cover
We just
before
need to
we
start
wrap up?
drinking beer. It's time.
It is about that time. Well, gents, have a lovely weekend.
You too, John.
Look forward to the conversation next week.
Thank you.
And Dave is gonna bring in volumes of research. I'm so excited. Now
Celestial sanctuary.
Now that we've said it, it has to happen.
Can't
You
wait.
see a book of research on these guys.
Insatiable thirst for torment. Yes.
We'll see you next week.